So I guess I can start whenever, So last week, I checked out One Finger Death Punch for the first time. It was recommended by a viewer, Epic Sakura, who's here in the chat right now. And it was a fascinating take on sort of the rhythm genre and also quick time events, but it kind of does its own thing with it, and I was pretty impressed. I'd heard of the game before, but I didn't really know much about it. It also takes a lot of inspiration from the sort of some of the flash animations that I remember from, I don't know, the last decade. Before YouTube took over, people were building all kinds of weird, crazy flash animations to share in places like Newgrounds. And I used to watch them like crazy. Actually, my favorite was Madness Combat. But I did also appreciate the stick fighting ones. Hey there, Keezy K. No, I'm not playing Yakuza right now because I don't have a copy of it, actually. I was borrowing my friend Ian's copy when I made the Yakuza video. We're playing One Finger Death Punch, which is a crazy little indie game. And, oh, okay, it looks like it doesn't support cloud saves. So the progress that I made when I was at work isn't going to work here. Okay, but that's fine.
You cannot move in this game.
Okay.
For enemies to enter the zone.
So when an enemy enters the left-hand zone,
Press X now to
I hit the
attack
X
this
button.
enemy.
I guess I'll just let
For
this guy
enemies
talk.
to approach you, fight using only the X and B buttons.
So you can see this is really reminiscent of QuickTime events in other action games. But
Press X or B when enemies enter your zone.
while
You
it
will
starts...
see the X or B zones light
I don't want
up
to talk during this
ready
guy.
to attack.
While it starts really simple, over time, it really builds in difficulty and complexity. But the thing that's cool is, it doesn't just throw random things at you. You actually, you learn a set of mechanics and the ability to sort of predict what's going to happen. One thing that's really interesting is that you can see your guys coming, just like in a rhythm game, and you can sort of plan ahead to when they're going to hit your zone and when it's appropriate to hit them. But each time you hit them, you move, and you change the timing of all the future arrivals.
Round. This is how many men you need to kill. This is your life.
Okay. So I gotta kill 50 guys without dying. So you'll see that sometimes you'll hit a guy and you'll get a bonus to your hit zone, and you get to hit people from further away. And now I've got a weapon, and so the weapon has actually extended my hit zone until I break it.
All throwing weapons kill in one hit.
Okay.
Press X or B to throw. You grab throwing weapons of enemies that carry them.
So you actually have you have a lot of choice about who you hit in what order, and that kind of controls where you move. Also, you can decide to wait until the very last minute to hit a guy, or you can hit him as soon as possible, and that will determine how far you move. So there's actually a strategic element to sort of trying to edge yourself to the right or to the left to pick up a weapon or to break an object. KZK, yes, you can upgrade your abilities. You, as you progress through the levels, you earn upgrades that sort of change the rules. Like, for instance, you saw that when I got a throwing weapon, I could throw it, either direction, and... Oh, this guy, right.
Buttons move slowly in this zone.
But like one of the early things you unlock is the ability to throw weapons 3 times instead of just 1. And so that kind of changes...
Require you to press B and X.
It kind of changes how you have to react, because you have to kind of really get familiar with what the weapons and other powers do, because sometimes you're operating so quickly, it's almost like playing Tetris by just watching the next block. Where you're not, when Tetris is moving fast enough that you're not even seeing the blocks that you're using, you're just seeing what the next block is and making predictive moves. This game gets like that, and so you have to really know your abilities, because the difference between throwing 3 knives and throwing 1 knife can be enormous. You know, and you can screw up by thinking you have 1 knife when actually you have 3.
Round. Green enemies have 2 hits. The enemy's hits are indicated below them.
Okay, so now I've got enemies that take 2 hits. And so I have to watch. So this is the point where I'm no longer watching the stickmen themselves. I'm actually watching the UI that's below the stickmen to tell me what I can do with them. So I can identify the ones that are going to take me out into a different mode versus the ones that are going to take 2 hits and the ones that are going to take 1. Because if you hit one of those guys that breaks you out into a separate mode like this, and you're not expecting it, you can just keep button mashing for the next guy you were anticipating fighting, and make the wrong move. Luckily, they're nice. Guys who come from the right always start with B, and guys who come from the left always start with X, even when you're breaking out into another mode. So you're less likely to accidentally button mash your way into failure. Light sword. What, you expect me to take a laser sword to go up against the entire First Order?
Fury mode. Destroy your enemies by pressing X and B.
So I was saying when I originally streamed this, one of my favorite things about this is how it creates the same sort of emotional feeling of you know that scene in like a Bruce Lee fight where he's fighting somebody in front of him, maybe a bunch of guys in front of him, and then somebody is coming up behind him, and without looking, he just suddenly reverses direction and hits the guy behind him with his fist. That moment, like the emotion that you feel in that moment, they replicate that emotion constantly in this game, where you're constantly, you're fighting one way and then you quickly turn to take somebody out on the other direction and then come back. There's a different weird kind of emotional reaction I get to those moments in movies and in games. And so it's kind of cool they've built a game that it feels almost like it's built around that experience. So you see what these new guys do with the 2s under them. They dodge past me when I hit them, and then I have to hit them in the other direction. But there's a little bit of a delay before they're going to hit me in the other direction. So sometimes, if they've got another person right behind them, I actually need to hit them, hit the other person. Oops, I was trying to explain it too hard. But I have to, dodge past them, hit the person who's right behind them, and then hit them. You see me doing that there. Ah, I'm making mistakes. That guy.
7 times before time runs out. Achieve complete dominance. Victory.
All right.
Gold medal awarded. New skill unlocked. Every dagger.
So, Epic Sakura points out that my head is kind of might be blocking some UI. Is that true, or am I misinterpreting what you're saying? Okay, so this is the skill that I said I was going to unlock. So now, yeah, whatever.
Will become active while playing a stage once you kill a certain amount of enemies. For example, the 3 daggers skill activates after you kill 1 enemy. When 1 enemy is killed, your skill will become active and will be ready to use. Once active, the skill will work on its own. For example, the 3 daggers.
Okay, dude. Yes, I get it.
Will allow you to throw 3 daggers.
Okay, cool. I can get out of that by hitting the finish button. Okay, so yeah, I just unlocked the 3 dagger skill. So now if I pick up a dagger, I can throw 3 of them, and eventually I'll unlock enough skills that I have to start making strategic choices about which one I'm going to bring into a particular battle. And now we got a fork in the road here, so there's 2 different levels I can play. So I wasn't actually expecting to defeat that guy so quickly, and it took me by surprise because I think I had a special ability that was making it so that I could kill him instantly, and I was expecting it to go slower. And so it's funny how in this game, killing someone faster than you expected to is actually a bad thing. Like in most games, somebody just going down fast and you expect it is just an unmitigated good, but here... okay. Here it's actually kind of inconvenient.
Destroy him. Victory.
Because this game is all about predicting what you gotta do next.
Skill unlocked. Every bow comes with 2 additional arrows.
Okay. Yeah, so I've got these 2 kind of matching skills here. Alright, this is a boss.
Round. This boss switches between green and the blue. The enemy's hits are indicated below them.
Okay, yeah, so I just gotta watch the UI under this guy to see whether he's gonna switch sides or stay on the same side when I hit him.
Oh, the medal. Awarded.
Oh, okay, this is what F. Sakura was saying. That Cloudcraft was pointing out that it didn't seem like I was taking much of a penalty for taking damage. But I am. The penalty is that I don't get this perfect sign that I'm sort of blocking if I'm taking damage. I wonder, would my head be better on the upper left? Let's see if that works. Okay, so now I've got 2 really big branches here. So what Epic Sakura suggested that I should do before, I think it was her, was zoom out and I can see, or maybe it was Drac that told me this, that I can see ahead and sort of plan like, oh, if I want to get to a boss quicker or unlock a skill faster or something, I can look ahead to it and make my decisions. But I mean, ultimately, you know, I kind of want to play all of these fights, so I don't care that much about the strategy.
Use X and B to
Yeah,
shoot balls.
so I've got this ball that I can bounce at different people.
In one hit. Juggle the ball back and forth. Kill as many enemies as possible. The ball must be in your X or B
Oops.
zones in order for you to hit it.
How many different weapons did I have just there? Ah, whoops. I have a bomb? Where did I get a bomb? So I'm using a controller. Keezy asked about this. I'm using a controller right now, which means I'm actually less agile. At least if I hold it the traditional way, I got to keep switching my thumb back and forth between X and B. But I guess I could do it in claw mode and do it this way, which would probably be smarter if I get into really fast challenges. I haven't progressed far enough in this game to need to switch to that, though. But yeah, Epic Sakura endorses using a mouse. I'm just very comfortable with the controller for quick time event type experiences. Oh, ow. Oh, see, I did not realize how many arrows I had. So I think I tried to shoot arrows that were not real.
Weapons increase your attack range. If you already have a weapon of the same
Yeah,
type,
I'm not doing that great right now.
to throw it. You can only use a weapon for a short time. If you drop a weapon, remember, your attack range will be decreased.
Lovely. Yeah, see, again, like, I'm really bad at recognizing when I do and do not have a weapon. I need to pay more attention to that part of the UI. Because, like, I'll have a bow and I'll think I have one more shot or one less shot, and I'll make the wrong move. But yeah, Keezy, this is only a 2-button game. Like, you literally do not need more than 2 buttons. Except for, like, you need the A button to clear your way past UI. That's pretty much it. And you need the stick to navigate the map. But when you're actually fighting, it's just 2 buttons. It's just X and B. Or right and left mouse button if that's how you roll. So, yeah, so this uses like a lot of your Dance Revolution skills. Because you got to make decisions about what you're going to do when. Oops. Based on where... Ah! gosh. Based on, like, sort of your brain predicting when guys are going to show up on, in your zones. Ah. See, I have this habit of alternating buttons, and so whenever I get into one of those QuickTime events with those guys, even though they really consistently... Like, if there's a guy on the B side and who goes into one of those QuickTime events, and I hit the B to hit that guy, the first button I need to hit inside the QuickTime event is B. But for some reason, I have this natural impulse to switch to X. I'm not sure why. Okay, so now I'm supposed to be trying to hit objects, which can be kind of a challenge. Because you don't really directly move your character, you can't just run somewhere. But you can decide, like, when your range extends, which direction you want to use it for. And also, just over time, eventually, you'll go all over the place. Ow. See, I anticipated that guy getting into my zone, but I moved a little bit too fast.
Silver medal awarded.
Oh, silver medal. Okay, let's go back here and get some levels that I missed. Yeah, so I think the reason why this game is called One Finger Death Punch, it's partly because that just sounds like the name of a cool Japanese action movie. But it's also because I only use one finger to fight these guys, right? Okay, so there, I actually intentionally went after that sword that was off to the right. I was just waiting for an opportunity to go as far to the right as possible.
Destroy him.
I love it when a game like this just, mostly it's about strategically hitting the right button at the right time or reflexively hitting the right button at the right time. But now and then they just give you a free one where it's like, hey, just button mash as hard as you can and do a bunch of damage. And that feels really good, It's like you've got something good in a game when just wantonly like smashing the button and doing the mechanic is a reward in and of itself. You don't have to give some extrinsic reward. Just the feel of the gameplay itself is a reward you can give to people. Like those free hits. The only downside of this really is, like, when you start, really getting into advanced levels, you have to be so focused on what the UI is telling you about, like, how long you have to fight a particular guy or what's going to happen when you hit him, like that. Why do I suck? You have to pay a lot of attention to the UI, like to the numbers under the guys, which means you don't really get to enjoy the animations of the characters. Like, one reason I'm glad that One reason I'm glad I'm making a video of this is because I could potentially watch this later and actually enjoy the animations. Because, I used to love, Flash animations and stuff that did this kind of stick figure combat. So I'd love to actually be able to watch myself do it, but I'm not paying any attention to the stick figures. Now, they do try to make it so that you can pay attention to the stick figures, because I'm sure that was a complaint, like, with early testers of the game, saying, I'm just watching a bunch of numbers. I'm not actually watching the stick figures. You'll notice they consistently color the figures based on what their interaction is going to be. So if you actually wanted to, you can get really good at realizing that green guys just take 2 direct hits. I don't even know what I'm doing right now. The green guys take 2 direct hits. The gray guys just take 1. And I think there are colors devoted to the guys who dodge with different patterns. And so if you really learned it, you could play without just staring at the numbers all the time. You could just learn the colors of the guys. I'm not going to get that good. I am going to keep playing the UI, but I like that I can tell that they put some effort into trying to make it so that it doesn't have to be that way.
When you perform well, it increases. When you fail, it decreases. But
So,
it will never go lower than 100%.
I am covering up right now the piece of UI that the guy is talking about. There's a speed modifier that whenever I do really well at a round, it increases, and when I do poorly, it goes down. So the game is just constantly adjusting its own difficulty to match my skill level. And this guy. Yes.
Gold medal.
Alright, so even though my face kind of awkwardly covers up the little perfect medal, I think I'm going to still be over here because during the actual game I am covering up a semi-important part of the UI. Okay, so I went this whole way, but let's go down this path now. So you can see speed 172. The better I do, the higher that's going to go. And the worse I do, the lower it's going to go. So you can kind of, it's almost like bragging about your golf handicap. Like you can tell people, oh, well, I play One Finger Death Punch at 172, and somebody else can say, oh, well, I play at 203, and you're like, oh, wow, you must be really good at the game. Oh, crap. I'm just getting absorbed enough that it's actually hard to talk.
Gold medal awarded.
KZK is saying that they should add more blood and body parts flying and have special movers and add more special moves, I assume you're saying, and add more weapons. Basically, listing a bunch of stuff. Like, basically, I mean, I think that they do, as time goes on, they keep adding more weapons, and the weapons bring with them, I think, more moves that you can't do, when you don't have a weapon. Oops. And it does just keep getting more ridiculous and dramatic over time. You can watch videos of much better people than me playing this game, and it does get completely ridiculous. But I think that the developers would take it as a compliment if you want more of what they're doing well. I love this ball. It is like the best part of this game. Oops. Ah! Ridiculous.
Gold medal awarded.
Yeah, so Epic Sakura points out that if you're trying to memorize the colors of the guys that are coming after you, it's blue and green that really matter. And the other ones, you can actually sort of just watch, like the ones that dodge you. Which, you have to kind of be able to predict, oh, is he going to be on the right side of me first, and then the left side, and then the right again? What's he going to do? You can actually just watch them move. You don't necessarily need to predict it, though it certainly makes it easier. Especially the faster you go, the more you need to be able to know in advance what each move you make is going to do, so that you can be planning the next move already before you've completed it. Like, being able to just kind of going one move at a time and just taking each thing as it comes is something you can do at early levels and at lower speeds. But at higher speeds, you have to be thinking 3, 4, 5 moves ahead, sending the messages down to your thumb before, before it's time for them to actually happen. Ow. That was just low skill was all that was. No excuses. I don't really know what's special about the nunchucks except they look cool. but Keezy, I think this is what you're asking for. And you're saying, you know, I want more weapons, more special moves. Like, I'm only showing you the very beginning of the game right now. There are a lot of things that get unlocked over the course of the game. 10 men left. And this guy.
Victory.
And he's gouting blood from his face.
Awarded.
So I could just do this all day. I mean, this game is so satisfying. Even when I screw up and I have to play a level over again, even multiple times, it doesn't really get frustrating because just the moment-to-moment experience of playing this game is so satisfying. Oops. It's another sign of a game that's fundamentally really good and fun is when you are capable of replaying it repetitively, of going back and playing the same level again and again and again without getting bored of it. There aren't a lot of games you can say that about. There's so many games where what's interesting about the game is surprise and discovery. You know, it's interesting to see what's next, what's around the next corner, you know, and nope. Stop sucking, Geoffrey. Yeah, usually with a game, like, the first thing you want to nail is not, you know, an interesting story or setting or something. It's some kind of mechanic that players will be happy to keep doing, even if you know, if the game is repetitive, even if it's the 9th time they've played and there are no surprises. If you nail that, then, you know, everything else kind of, it's much easier for everything else to fall into line if you know that the moment-to-moment experience for the player is really fun. And that's what I think they've really nailed here, is just, it's simple. There doesn't have to be a lot to it. It can just be a bunch of, like, first-level guys charging at you, little gray guys charging at you, and it's still just really satisfying to just go through the motions of defeating these guys. And so the fact that it keeps getting more interesting and more complex, and you know, there's sort of surprising rounds that do new things and surprise you, that's great. I mean, it makes the game even better. But the whole thing is built on a foundation of the fact that this experience, on a fundamental level, is just fun no matter how many times you play it. And that's also, I mean, it encourages players to do things like, you know, you see people posting videos of playing this game at, like, what, 250% speed or something, which is, like, ridiculously hard. Ah! You get ahead of me. Ah! This is hard when I'm talking. But, you know, players are a lot more willing to get really good at your game and do ridiculous skill-based accomplishments if your game is just fundamentally fun. You know, I mean, there are players who are sometimes willing to play unfun games for a really long time and get good at them just for the novelty of it. But really, I mean, to fuel that kind of fandom, you have to have a game that's just fun to, again, play again and again and again, because that's what it takes to get really good at something like this. And that's actually, I mean, that's a valid marketing strategy. You know, I think there's a lot of people who have tried and bought One Finger Death Punch because they saw a video on YouTube of somebody doing ridiculous things in this game. And that made them want to buy it. And so, even if you're thinking from a purely business standpoint and you're not, you know, even like an artsy game designer who, you know, wants to figure out the true nature of fun and provide it to players for artsy reasons, even just from a business perspective, really focusing on nailing, you know, getting a a mechanic that's really fun to repeat, that's a huge part of what's going to get people to be interested in your game in the first place. They'll see other people getting super into playing it again and again, and they'll want to do it too. By the way, I'm sorry that I am not reading the chat as often as I should. I definitely can't do it while playing the game. Oops. Nope. It occurs to me that I don't think I've actually failed a level yet during this video. I definitely failed a couple of times the first time I played. Maybe I should quit while I'm ahead and, like, do a video that doesn't include any failures. Watch me fail at this one now. Nope, not this one.
Gold medal awarded.
Yeah, so Keezy K-Man, the levels definitely do get harder. Like, the first level that I played was super easy compared to what I'm doing now. And let's... Boss round. Okay, so let's see how this guy is. Ah! Oh, I missed. There we go.
Silver medal awarded.
Bosses so far tend to be short, and they're not actually as hard as the mob rounds. This is speed rounds. Oh, these can be... People have told me these can be particularly hard later on in the game.
You cannot use skills.
So I gotta kill, what, 90 guys in, is that 60, 69 seconds? So I gotta kill more than a guy a second. Which sounds hard, but this game, you actually kind of play this game in real life bullet time. Like, it feels like things are going slower than they really are. Like, you can kill several guys in the same second and feel like it took several seconds. You know, because sort of your brain measures time not in seconds, but in events. And so if you cram a lot of events into a short time, then it feels like you had more time. So one thing I've heard is that you want to try to get something like a ranged weapon or a bomb or something like that that you can hit those guys that break you into quick time events. You want to get some way to kill them quickly in the speed rounds, but that takes a level of strategic play of this game that I've never been able to manage. Oh. Ah! Like, you have to, like, what you end up doing is, like, really focusing your brain on, like, okay, I have to make good decisions, I have to, you know, okay, that's happening, then this is happening, and I feel like it when things are going right, I feel like my brain is actually, like, operating more quickly than it normally would. You're not always seeing it going right here, but, ow!
Medal awarded.
Yeah, so Epic Sakura points out that when you get into the brawler, that's the name of the QuickTime event guy. When you get into a fight with a brawler, the other guys all back off and gives you space, which, you know, can be very helpful if you're getting just completely mobbed. I love these sections where they just give you a powerful weapon and a bunch of weak guys and just let you go nuts. I mean, yeah, sometimes you get hurt here, but not that often. It's mostly just, like, feel like a badass for a minute before you move on to something more difficult. And this guy. Victory. Whew. I like that the brawlers,
Awarded.
even if they're going to do a bunch of the same button in a row, they break them up. It's almost like a phone number. You know how they'll break up a phone number, depending on where you live, into groups of like 3, 4, or 5 numbers, because that's how many numbers you can sort of hold in your head very easily. And so if you group them into like 3s, 4s, and 5s, you can memorize a number much more easily than if it's just all in a long string together. And even if you run into a string of 8 numbers, you're gonna break it up in your head. Like there's a 9-digit, I think, entry code, or maybe it's an 8-digit entry code into our offsite storage unit that we were just clearing out. And I still think of it as being 3 numbers, 2 numbers, and 3 numbers instead of 8 numbers, because I can't hold 8 numbers in my head. And similarly, if I'm deciding how many times to hit a button on one of those brawler guys, it really helps that I can see not, like, if it was 7 B buttons, that would just be like an infinite number of B buttons. I couldn't manage that. But if it's 5 B buttons and 2 B buttons, I can recognize and go, oh, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, and instantly recognize it. So I wonder if they started breaking it up after testing it, like if they tested a version that would do like a string of 8, and then they started breaking it up so that people could actually sort of conceive of the number of buttons. Thunderstorm round? I forgot what this does.
Keep an eye out for weapons. Hard to see. But look at the blue and red bars below multi-hit enemies.
Oh, okay. So, it's a thunderstorm, which makes it hard to see. So I can't identify enemies based on their color anymore. But that's fine because I wasn't doing that anyway. But I also can't see things like weapons that I want to go for. Yeah, that didn't go well. What happened there? Sorry, I'm not talking anymore because this kind of got a little bit intense. Ow. Oh, this might be the one that kills me, guys. Yup.
Take your time and focus.
Well, hey, now you get to see how friendly they are about death, because you just get to restart immediately, and they don't mock you or anything. So, actually, I'm glad that I died at least once during this video so you can see how the game handles it. Because I just immediately start doing the exact same thing again. Is that an eyeball? So sometimes I won't realize there's a weapon somewhere, and I will have grabbed a weapon, and it'll completely change what I'm doing. And or sometimes because grabbing a weapon actually, I think, takes one of your moves, and so I will think that I've hit a guy when actually all I did was grab a weapon next to the guy. So I'll end up getting hit by that guy because I didn't hit him when I thought I hit him, or I'll just have my rhythm and timing off. Yeah, this is not going that well for me. Ah, see, I thought I had one more arrow. And so I ended up missing and getting hit. Ah! Oh! Wow, okay, I barely made that. Oh, that was crazy. Cloudcraft confirmed that was in fact an eyeball flying at the screen, which he says looks much more ridiculous when you are... Oh, here we go. What is this? Looks much more ridiculous when you can actually see color. Increased attack range for 10 seconds activates after 26 kills. Okay, cool. Well, I've used all 3 of my skill slots, so next time we get a new skill, I'm gonna have to sacrifice something.
See the enemy button combo.
Oh, he's got 3.
Blue is if you see 3 red bars, you press B 3 times. If you see 3 blue bars, press X 3 times. These bars will show you exactly what you need to press in order to defeat multi-hit enemies.
Ah, crap. I mistimed the ball there. Victory!
Gold medal awarded.
Whew. Speed round. Okay, let's see how this
All
goes.
enemies speed around.
Oops. Alright, good. Man, compared to that thunderstorm round, this is not challenging me nearly as much. It almost feels like I'm slowed down right now. Like I'm like, this would have been a hard level back when I was new to the game. But because I just played and was nearly defeated multiple times by something more challenging, this almost feels like I'm playing it in slow motion.
Victory.
Whew!
Gold medal.
Gold medal? What? That wasn't platinum? Man. Epic Sakura says that she thinks her top death ball counter has been 12. That's pretty impressive. Okay, let's go down to the next boss, and then we'll switch and play something else. Is that it? Oh, wait. Oh, I gotta hit A to go faster. So I think this is the exact same pattern of enemies, only I'm doing it faster this time. Now we'll do it even faster.
Round 3.
Oh. Yeah, my timing's off.
Last round.
This is cool because they feel like they can challenge me with something that normally I couldn't handle, but because I've played the same pattern 3 times, I can pull it off. So another way to... This game feels like they really are just designing it to try to make you feel like a badass all the time. And they're coming up with ways to sort of cheat you into feeling like you're better at this game than you are. Okay, so here's some of the more complicated guys. They've got... You can see what he's gonna do. Oh, crap. Oh, yeah, so if I miscount it... Ah, stop it! Stop. Everyone stop making me look like I'm bad at this game. Okay, so these guys dodge at the end. I've hit them twice and then they dodge. Not doing that well. Oh crap, last hit. This isn't gonna be good. What is that?
Your enemy
Oh.
is strong.
Okay, so my speed just went down. That sucks. I think it went down a lot. So you can imagine if you're playing with some enemies that dodge after the first hit and some enemies that dodge after 2 hits, it could get really confusing after a while, and you're gonna have to get really good at the game. Because eventually you'll have enemies that dodge on the first hit, and then take 2 hits after they've dodged, and basically you'll end up with every possible combination of moves from these enemies. There's the eyeball. Whew! Alright.
Gold medal awarded.
Alright, let's do one last boss.
Round.
I really gotta take advantage of my... Oh, what was that? I gotta take more advantage of my free hits. Oh. There we go. Well,
Silver medal.
that wasn't exciting enough. I feel, we can't end on that. Let's end on something a little bit more exciting. What is it? Survival round. It's got a big infinity symbol on it.
Survival round.
What does that mean?
Skill and earn mastery points. Survival rounds reward you with 3 arrows.
So so it looks like it's counting enemies up instead of down. Do I just play until I die? Well, that might not take that long, actually. Because I'm just getting annihilated. So yeah, I think I'm officially further in the game now than I've gotten before. There we go. Victory-ish? Oh, come on. I don't want to come out with a whimper. What's this one? Smash round? Dagger round? Okay, let's do a dagger round. Maybe that'll be cool.
Using only daggers. Dagger round.
Okay, that's kind of ridiculous. Alright, whatever.
Platinum medal.
Platinum medal! Wow, that's great. Multi-round. Okay, see, here's a problem with this game. I can't stop playing it. Like, I keep saying I'm gonna stop, and I keep just not stopping. Because I keep, I don't know, thinking that there's gonna be something amazing around the corner that I'm gonna get to do. Oh, multi-round. That's the one where you just keep doing it faster and faster. Got it. Okay. Faster.
Round 3.
Faster.
Last round. Victory.
Master combo.
Silver medal awarded.
Silver medal? What? Okay, I guess I made some mistakes early on. Alright, okay. I'm really gonna quit now. I mean, you know, whatever. I'm not gonna find the perfect round to end on that's just, you know, blows everybody's mind. But this game overall kind of blew my mind. So an extra thank you to Epic Sakura for recommending this game to me, because otherwise I probably never would have just thought of it as a game that would interest me, and it totally did. Like, it just sounded like, oh, a simple fighting game? Not gonna be super into that. But no, this game took like the classic, you know, rhythm game, quick time event mechanics and really made something out of it. There's something a lot more to this than just hit button when prompted, because, you know, as your character's moving around, the timing changes. You have to be able to predict people, like in a Tetris game. You'll predict what's going to be coming down the pipe and, like, send messages to your fingers before they're even ready to act. There's a lot of skill to this, and it's hard to take something as straightforward and simple as a rhythm game or a quick time event and actually give it the kind of depth that this game gave it. So I'm really impressed. So we will wrap up this video, and we'll move on to something else.